Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Vented Uplift. I am Chrisie Canny, the host and the CEO of Vented in Brooklyn, the aromatherapy jewelry company with a mission of giving back. We are back to one-to-one. Anytime you buy a bracelet, you purchase one, we donate one to a cancer patient. But every week here, we're bringing on amazing women who do extraordinary things, whether they're authors, inventors, breast cancer survivors. We're going to put that on silent. Like I said, I'm a little scattered today, as Stephanie has learned. So we're bringing on different women because so many women shared their breast cancer journey with me and their entrepreneur journeys, and it made my life easier because of the knowledge that I learned. So everybody, welcome Stephanie McLeod-Estevez, who is an art therapist and fellow breast cancer survivor. Welcome, Stephanie. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, Chrissy, thank you for the invitation. I'm so happy to be here and to get to know you better as well, because that is part of the synergistic connection I think that we have as breast cancer survivors.
Yeah. I think there is something like, we're like sisters. Like as soon as it happens, like we're sisters and we understand, like you understand that, like that feeling about going in and the fear, the anxiety, the scanxiety, like we understand everything. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do as an art therapist.
Sure. So, cancer is something that runs through my family. So, my art therapy journey is just as intertwined with my cancer story. In what was it, 2000, my mom's breast cancer metastasized, and I moved home to be one of her caregivers. I was in my mid 20s. And that obviously was really difficult, to be. But then again, it's one of these things, like important life events are often really hard. And yet it's what you get from them, where it takes you, that helps you feel that sense of reward. And so after she passed away, and I began to sort of notice that there's a lot of challenges when it comes to grieving, and the grief that you experience might not be obvious to others. And I think there's a lot of grieving that goes on when you've been through breast cancer yourself. And so that sort of inspired me to go into art therapy, and it really like helped me heal emotionally from that experience. So then, like 14 years later, when I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, I was like, okay, thank you, universe. Why do all my lessons have to be so experiential? And yet, I'm here 9 years out from diagnosis. I am, still cancer free, or NED. I'm very blessed to be so. And what it's done for me personally and professionally is really brought me to a place of deep fulfillment, because now I work with women, teaching them how they can use art therapy to heal emotionally from breast cancer and all the other areas in our life, right? Because it's not like you just experience it as a medical diagnosis, it's psychological, it's spiritual, and then it has you reflecting upon every aspect of your life and trying to really figure out what to do at times, especially if you perceive that change needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, that is a lot that you went through, being a caretaker for your mom in your 20s. And I can't imagine, the fear of you when you were diagnosed, because you saw how it ended for your mom.
Absolutely.
It must have been very scary. So did you guys ever get tested for the BRCA gene, or?
So I did. So it's interesting. I had an opportunity at 30 to get tested, and I made the personal decision not to be tested. So then when I was 40 and diagnosed, it was like, okay, now it's time to know whether or not we carried the gene, because my mom passed away, I think, before that testing was really happening, or before it was broadly known. And so, but it's kind of a blessing in disguise, because I think I might have made some different choices that now I would regret. Like, for example, I know a lot of women who are previvors, or, maybe young breast cancer survivors, and they struggle with that question of, should I become a parent? Because, I've had cancer, I have this genetic mutation. And like at the time it was offered to me, I was still grieving the loss of my mom. But like in all honesty, I don't regret being born just because she did pass on the BRCA2 mutation, And so it's definitely something that emotionally I think needs to be attended to, but I think it can also sort of help you really hone in on what matters most and live the best life. But that testing did help me make some decisions that I think made a difference in why I am, cancer free today. That she didn't do or didn't have the option to do at the time that she went through her first round of treatment. So what can we say,
So,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So do you want to tell us what you chose to do for you to be comfortable being cancer free? Like let's get into like
Yeah.
how were you diagnosed? What happened? You were only 40. Was it like your first mammogram, or did you start going earlier because your mom was diagnosed early?
So I did have earlier, mammograms, and then I had children, and so they were like, there's probably not a whole lot of sense if you're actively breastfeeding because it's going to be very difficult to read those things. And so the thing that's kind of interesting is, remember when Angelina Jolie had the preventative mastectomy, right? And that was like big headline news. And that was, I can't remember exactly how it lined up with when I got diagnosed, but I remember sort of thinking like, gosh, I should probably get back on that. Like, I'm no longer breastfeeding. Like, I need to get back in for screening. I mean, I was doing my mammogram, once I could resume. So anyway, so what happened was I had a mammogram December of 2013 that was clear, although 9 months later, when I was diagnosed with triple negative, the doctor was able to say, like, I could see why they might not have thought this area, you were young, et cetera, but if you notice now where your tumor is, um, that's where it started. But to be honest, if they had found it back then, I had terrible health insurance. It would have been a nightmare. And 9 months later, I was on a really good health insurance
Wow.
policy, And then the main decision that I think was different for me versus my mom is, first of all, like she does she got breast cancer maybe 5 or 6 years the first time, and she decided not to have a bilateral mastectomy. Now, that might not have ever made a difference to her, outcome, but I personally was like, if it happens to me, I will do that because that's one thing I have control over. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is I know I had different chemotherapy than she did, and that might have, again, just been that many more years of research and understanding, and then I had radiation too. So yeah, and then I had my ovaries out, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
you've been through a lot. Yeah,
yes,
um, I was diagnosed from a mammogram every 6 months at the age of 40. I
yes,
was being followed, right? I have very
okay,
big breasts. They can't find, they can't see anything. Mrs. Canny, we're following something like yada yada.
right,
And
yes,
then I was like, and then the words came out like, I see crystallization when the doctor said.
yeah,
And I had
okay,
two friends who had DCIS the year before. So as soon as she said that, I went, okay, let's
right,
go. Can you do a
yeah,
biopsy today? Like, come on, let's, like,
yes,
and that's when, as an entrepreneur, that's when I was going to be on Joy Mangano's TV show 2 weeks
oh my
later.
gosh,
And I
oh my
literally,
God,
that would like be on live TV after being told you had breast cancer. And I was
yeah,
like, I said, I really don't have time for this crap right now. Like I have
exactly,
so much going on.
yeah,
I'm like, so
yeah,
let's hurry up and let's go and let's decide. But so I
exactly,
had DCS with microinvasion, and
okay,
they're like, oh, you can have a lumpectomy, you can have radiation, then you'll have radiation, and then you go into tamoxifen for the rest of your life. And I went,
right,
I already decided what I was going to do.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
so you
and
too,
from listening, my sister had breast cancer. She chose to only have one removed.
okay,
I had people that I talked to, like, because I interviewed so many
yes.
women. So I'm like, okay, some people who had one aren't happy with only one. They wanted
Right.
two. One that had their implants and lifted, they're not happy with that. So I'm like, I'm going to go for like the person that I think I connect to. And I'm like, I'm going to cut it off and be done with it
Yes.
and have
Yes.
my 28% went to 2%. But that was like my
Yeah.
personal choice, right? Like it's
Exactly.
comfortable.
And that I think is listening to your instinct, like outside of the numbers and all of that, it's like what feels right to you, And my mom, it didn't feel right to her to have a double mastectomy. And I don't know, I wish I could ask her, but I kind of have a feeling that she's at peace with whatever that decision made. And that might not have done it, like maybe it would have come back anyways, So I think it's sort of like what we wrestle with, right? Is sort of like we have a lot of information, we have our goals and what we want out of life, and then we have to do what's best for us and kind of trust as best we can this process that is clearly reminding us of like how much uncertainty we're really surrounded by all the time. And I think that was kind of why when I went through my process and then you get to that point, especially because I couldn't take tamoxifen with as a triple negative breast cancer survivor. I mean, I could have, but it would have done nothing for my kid, that it was oh my God, what just happened, and sort of recognizing once again, it's like, if I don't want to live like kind of hijacked by the trauma and the stress of what I've been through, how do I process it in a way that leaves me as resilient and as sort of cleared out as I can? And that's sort of like inevitably, that's how art therapy came back. I was practicing it, professionally, but then to apply it to myself in yet another really poignant moment in my life was huge and transformative and has enabled me to sort of move forward. And it's not like I don't have hard days, but I feel really alive, and really grateful and blessed in who I am today, is in part because of all of these hard experiences. And I think most people who have really worked through their challenges will tell you the same thing, right? Like I heard this great thing on NPR. They're like, if you ask people like what made them who they are today, they're not going to tell you it was that 2-week vacation to Hawaii, They're going to tell you about the
I mean, that
challenges
can't
they
hurt.
went through.
I mean, that couldn't
I
hurt.
mean, I wouldn't say no to a 2-week vacation in Hawaii, but anyways, so yeah.
The,
Yeah, but
so,
knowing so many women, it sounds like were really helpful for you in sort of figuring out what your next best moves were,
and you said listening to your gut, and I think
Yes.
that's really important. So my gut told me to do it, and I was
Yes.
at peace. And then for me,
Yes.
I found more cancer hiding in my breast that was not detected.
That was my case as well, and that was rough. I was like, "What? I just went through like 5 months of intense chemo because I had surgery second." And I was like, "How the hell was that growing there?" And they're like, "Oh, the good thing is that we removed it." And I was like, "Okay, now I have to process that though." So, yeah. How was it for you when you realized that you also had, stuff percolating in the other side?
Well, extremely grateful,
Yes,
right? Because they wouldn't have seen it. So if like he's
exactly.
like, I would have seen it. I would have seen it, like the surgeon. I'm like, yeah, sure you did. You would have.
Yeah.
Nobody, since my breasts are so dense. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was, I felt like I felt powerful, right? Because there were so many
Good.
people like, they're like, why are you doing such an extreme thing? And I'm like,
Right.
like,
Questioning you. You're like, "No, I'm trusting my gut."
right. And that's like when somebody has something and they're not questioning their doctor and putting their foot down and being like, no, I know something's wrong. Right. Like that's so
Exactly.
important to be, you know. So tell me
Yeah.
now, like, so how, like, 'cause I want to talk about your business.
Yeah, sure.
So how does somebody work with you or reach out to you and tell me what you're going to do and how we're going to like work and do art therapy and how I have somebody on who you probably would love her book. It's called Buoyant. And
Okay.
you know,
Ooh, gonna write down.
yeah, as an entrepreneur, it's really great. And you two would like really hit it off because what she found is that like how she was fried in her business and these little things
Yes.
people should add to it. And art is one of them daily.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
like I was like, so I was up, okay, I get up early, I journal, but like I was like, and so now it's like I get up early, I journal, and I doodle.
I love it. Great. What's that? How has that shifted your morning routine? Like, what have you noticed?
Well, I take time to like look around at the beauty because maybe I like use a lot of flowers in the garden when I
Yeah.
so it's just like and because I'm a perfectionist a little bit.
Yes.
So
Right.
ah,
So brings in that playful nature, right? Because like, Brene Brown's work, I don't know if you've ever done her wholehearted inventory or
I have not.
read her book. Oh my gosh. She wrote a book called The Gifts of Imperfection. It's really good. Really, really
Okay.
good. So
Yeah, yeah. No, so it's like, okay, like, or like it's working with like, okay, I can make mistakes. I can fix it if I
yeah.
want. I can, so tell me how you teach people to do it and how.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different applications. Like, first of all, kind of what you described is like almost like a morning meditation, a morning mindfulness session of like you're touching base and sort of doodling something maybe in your surroundings. And that can be super grounding, especially when you've got a lot going on inside of like, let me pause, let me get outside of my head and like onto the paper. So that is definitely a practice that is, I think, something that we can all benefit from. Um, and then the other major segue that I teach people is how to tell their story using art as really like a form of communication, right? So it's about, especially when you've gone through something traumatic, there's often aspects of your experience that are really difficult to put into words, especially at first, right? So, whether I'm working with a group of women or I'm working individually, if we're using it as a way to tell the story, first we start getting in touch with whatever that is. Like, so for example, the day you were diagnosed, and sort of guiding whomever I'm working with into that moment and asking them to sort of reflect on, what do you remember from that day? How does it make you feel in this moment, right? Because it's like the past is also the present, especially when we are talking about working through trauma. And and from there, the art begins to reflect what the either the energy or the colors or some people will draw stick figures with pen, and it doesn't really matter what they do. It's more of the act because it's this interpretation. And then what normally happens is the person starts describing how this reflects an aspect of their story, and then the words come, so the words that you couldn't find. And that is very soothing to our nervous systems, right? Because our nervous systems are constantly trying to discern, like, am I okay? Am I safe? What is bothering me? And so when we can kind of bring that more full expression of our experience, it begins to kind of tell your nervous system you're okay, even if 5 minutes from now you might be having a hard time. Right now, you're okay. And then it also allows you to kind of have that closure, kind to be able to describe what you've been through, gives you that opportunity to make, kind of take meaning and purpose from that experience, as well as like insight into yourself, because so often I hear people who have gone through cancer say to me, like, I don't know why I'm falling apart now. Like, why am I struggling so much? And breaks my heart when I hear about that. We don't, like we're aware, but to experience the emotional and psychological effects of cancer is very different than hearing about it or, so on and so forth. So, yeah, so it's an invitation to tell your story, but in a unique and different way. And so sometimes we're working on, paper, but like with breast cancer in particular, when I was going through, as I mentioned, I had chemo first. So I was doing chemo, I had done breast belly casts when I was pregnant with my sons. And so I was like, I'm comfortable with the decision to have a bilateral mastectomy, but I'm sad because I'm never going to see these breasts again. So my husband and I did a whole bunch of booby casts, and it was kind of like something we did.
Right.
And And like, I remember even one
You
time
you gave them a farewell tour. Like you
yes, it was awesome. And at one point, I wanted to do one with my bald head onto my breasts, and I haven't. This is one that I haven't had a chance to really work with yet. But what was funny was I was lying on the kitchen floor. You know, my kids by this point had seen me and my husband like keep making these things, and my oldest one was like, "Mom, why do you keep doing that?" And my youngest one, so perceptive, this was right before surgery. He was like, "Well, you know, after they take her boobs off, she's going to wear that." And I was like, "Thank God that's not the plan, but that is just so cool." Because we were in that moment, we were all together, sort of acknowledging our reality. But anyway, so fast forward, you know, I have the what the hell just happened to me, like treatment's over with, your oncologist like, see you in a few months. You're like, whoa, I just went from like constant doctor's
right.
appointments to bye bye. And I was grateful for that. Like full-time doctor's appointments is not particularly fun. But anyway, so on I realized I was like, I can use those breast casts as my canvas. And the first time I sat down on the anniversary of my diagnosis date. And I was expecting to feel, you know, all kinds of emotions. But the one that I felt the most, and I like get goosebumps even thinking about it now, was I set myself up and I went to touch and work on my breast cast. And I was just flooded with like deep joy and love. You know, it was made me so happy. And that's the thing that happens with art that surprises everybody. You know, even when you're leaning into a hard time, what most people walk away with is a sense of peace, you know, and it's like the emotions came out. I've been there and like, and watching. So I created this process and then I used it for a bunch of the like I have my diagnosis and my chemo and my surgery and my radiation and my being a daughter of a, you know, of a mom who went through it and all of these themes. And then I started offering it to women and seeing that they had the same effect. And I was like, this is cool. And so I've written a book, and the book, when, you know, I'm seeking publishing, but once that happens, the book will be the process. Like the first half is getting women ready and prepared to do the work and get them feeling comfortable. And then the second half is like, I think there's like 16 chapters to really help you personalize your healing experience, you know? And so it's crazy, but it makes me so happy. I feel so blessed to do what I do.
So are you gonna like sell it with like a kit for casting?
I've thought about that, you know, like first I have to get the publishing situation sorted out, you know, but I do have a fun idea. I was going to call them boobs in a box.
Love it.
Um,
Love it.
because the title for the book is Beautiful Boobs, you know, and so because I want inevitably, no matter where you or I or any woman impacted by breast cancer lands, I want them to really feel like that deep, loving beauty come through that, like that healing. Um,
So
so
have you
yeah,
thought of self-publishing?
I have, and I think that's a little bit more than what I personally want to do, but you never know what will, you know, like right now I'm sort of working on the author platform. I don't know if you've been in the publishing industry before, but it's certainly interesting.
No, the only thing, so I say it's because I'm part of an anthology called
Okay.
Magnificently Made, and it comes out 11/11, right? So
Oh,
and that, we all self-published it with our publisher, like we
yes.
all get, and it was, and I know two people that could help you. I have two
Okay.
separate wonderful, wonderful women that have two different companies, but they're really,
Oh, maybe we should chat then after the
yes, I mean, like, both great people who will guide you, and they're creative, and yeah, the whole boob in the box. I think it should be your book and a boob and a cast and really
yes.
sell it, because like, yeah, like I would never think of doing anything like that. And I think that's really, that could be really like, healing, and to be able to be
Yeah.
like, because so many people mourn,
Yes.
and to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's here, I have it," So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we have a few minutes left. So
Yes.
tell everybody how to find you.
Okay. So I just launched like this morning my
Oh,
updated website, which is
okay.
my name, Stephanie McLeod-Estevez without the hyphen.com. So that is like my full website. But I mean, of course, I'm on Instagram. That's under Creative Transformations LLC, and that is hooked into the website. So, of course, you can find us there. But then I write a monthly newsletter on Substack called, oh my gosh, I just changed the name because like art therapy for breast cancer is absolutely at the heart of my soul, but I really just love working with women in general. So that one's called Spark Curiosity, Live Radiantly.
I love that.
Yeah, so that you can find the sign up link for that. And like each time I send it out, there's like a creative prompt, there's, information about art therapy and how you might be able to apply it to your own life, as well as like links to any upcoming, workshops or events I'm doing. So,
Right. And you're
yeah.
you're in Maine, correct?
Yes, I'm in Maine, but most of my work is virtual because I work with people all over the place. I've had women attend as far as like Australia and Spain. And that's the thing that I love about the virtual landscape is that, often we have every best intention to do some of this healing work, but it can be difficult if you're trying to live your life. And so the virtual way that we can attend from our, homes is great too.
Love it. Love it. All right. So
Yeah.
everybody follow Stephanie, but okay. So we said that, do you have to go? Do you have time?
No, I have time. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, I said, I changed it. Like, so if anybody's wondering, like, what the little pink, like,
Yes.
on my shirt,
Yes.
this is Pinky. She's our breast cancer ass kicking warrior. So,
Love
yeah,
her.
I made her like last year. I had a fundraiser when I had my implants done, my exchange surgery for my 50th birthday, and I made her a jiggle party, right? So,
Yeah.
he's 50th jiggle, and this year it's, you know, let's see, so you could say, oh, wrong way.
Yes.
Called
Check
Check
your
Your
pants.
Can, right?
Love it.
So the
Love
Canny
it.
Brothers is my husband's band, so they're playing, and so I want to tell. So it's a fundraiser on October 13th. We
Great.
are giving makeovers. I have so many volunteers, professional artists, and makeup, hair that we're gonna do. Like I have a couple of friends who just went through treatment.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that's going to be
They're
powerful for them.
they're gonna be on the side in director's
Nice.
chairs without a
Love it.
mirror in front of them,
Yeah.
having makeovers, and then they'll have a big reveal because I think I'm like the Today Show, and then they'll have
Yeah.
a big reveal in the front. The guys wrote a beautiful cancer song. It's called F Cancer, and this disease, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's why everybody. But then we started, like, in case you're wondering, check your cans.
Yes.
Yes. And really, ladies, check your cans. It saves lives. Even if you're afraid to go for a mammo, just go. It's 2 minutes. Just go.
Yeah.
So I said, so I put the pink in, and you're like, oh, I like the pink. And I'm like, okay, we're getting to get into this conversation because sometimes I feel like I'm insulting other survivors because I'm all
Mm.
about pink. And
Yeah.
my feeling, my feeling is when I went to my first Making Strides walk for
Yeah.
American Society, my sister, was a survivor. My girlfriend, I saw her go through terrible treatment, and she really was given such a bad prognosis, but she's here so many years later. And I went to walk in that park, and I was like, oh my God, it's like, this is wonderful. Like all these women
Yeah.
supporting it. And then like, oh my God, all these women have breast cancer.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So I
Right.
embrace the pink, like, because
Yeah.
I always felt like I tell people, like, it wasn't if I would get cancer, I always knew when I get cancer.
Right. Yeah. I pretty much was in the same boat, given we have similar family stories on that. Yes.
Right. So yeah, my dad died of lung cancer in 2002. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so much cancer in my family. Every
Yeah.
member of my father's, like, they died of cancer. So to me,
Exactly.
I'm going to educate myself and surround myself with these women that can help me. And I'm drawn to the pink and I don't feel, so what's your feeling on it?
So it's so interesting because I feel like, I think when you're talking about having genuine connection, like you were at an event, you felt embraced by this color and this community. And so I feel like when people feel that embrace, they're less concerned about the color. I think a lot of it sometimes sort of boils down to like, have you felt dismissed? Have you felt like people didn't give you the space to share your thoughts and feelings, and so therefore they're like, here, let me the pink washing term. So I think but I personally, I went through so many years feeling so alone. Like October would happen, breast cancer awareness month. My mom like died in October, so when I went through treatment myself, once I was diagnosed, and I was diagnosed in September, and my first chemo was October 3rd, it was like finally I didn't feel alone anymore, and so I felt that embrace too. And I like the color pink, so I don't think it doesn't bother me, but I completely understand why for some people it doesn't feel good, or perhaps it feels like you're trying to sort of walk around the deeper challenges. And my guess, because that you to me seem like someone who is very much present for the people that you love and the community that you love. Like that event sounds amazing. And so, I don't think anybody's going to walk away from that being like, oh, I don't like the pink. Uh, but I think we just, grace and space, right? It's so important to give each other permission, just like the language. Some people, I like to say I'm a breast cancer survivor. Other people use thriver, warrior, whatever. It's like, hey, let's just make space for each other and listen to like what feels good. And I think if we were doing that, then I think we'll find the right way through.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I was so scatterbrained this morning.
No, you're great.
Menopause, like right now, I'm like in a hot flash. You can see me get like
Yeah.
enjoying this at all. And it makes me scattered, but so thank you. Everybody go to StephanieMcLeod-Estevez.com and you'll get all the links. I hope that your book comes out soon. I think the whole idea is amazing. Boobs in a like, yeah, like you go. How about first you should go trademark that?
Yes, exactly. Trademark that and then go from there. Yeah. All
And
right.
go secureboobsinabox.com. Like,
Okay.
like the cheapest way to do things to anybody, like just go do those couple of things and get it on Instagram.
Yeah. Yes.
So any woman who wants to be an entrepreneur and you just let's go get the things that are like not so expensive and get it done.
Exactly. And it is, I mean, that is a whole other story, right? But yes, I really appreciate those thoughts because, we can hear each other in different ways and reflect back like, hey, this is what I would do if you want to check that out. So I appreciate those words of advice.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's awesome to share space with you today. Thank you for having me.
If you want to hang on a second, I'm going to give you the name of those publishers. All right.
Sounds good.
Have a great day, everybody. Follow, I hope that you're coming to my event. And then we have a free mammogram bus coming to Bay Ridge. You just need to sign up with Justin Brennan. That's going to be October 25th. So if you do not have insurance and you're worried, you just need to be a U.S. citizen over 40 and not had an exam in the past year, and you're entitled to get a free breast exam. So I hope you sign up. So, okay, everybody, have a great day.
Bye.